Ancient texts exist today proclaiming that in the beginning the Creator gave humans a gift. And this gift was free will. But I must ask that you ask yourself this question at this present point in time. Have human beings been tricked by the lies of men, into giving away our gift of free will, that was given to humans by the Creator? I will make the argument that today, influential men, possessing wealth and power, have caused humans to give up the gift of free will, and have replaced it with punishment. This punishment is fear, bondage, and servitude. If you've also wondered if free will still exists today, then you should watch this video. Because in this video, I will examine what the meaning of free will is, and if it still exists in today's male-dominated society. So, let's begin with the assumption that the Creator, in the beginning, did give all humans the gift of free will. Here are some important facts you need to understand, before I make my argument. You must first understand that when a human being is created, its life begins in a state of transformation and change. In the beginning the infant is but a shapeless mass of protoplasm, that is in a constant state of change and maturity. The infant possesses nothing in and of itself, but just the DNA, or traits, that were passed down from its parents and their ancestors, and the desire to survive. The infant's physical body, which includes its mind, are but futuristic realities, that the infant itself has no control of. From birth, it is not the infant that causes itself to grow, but it is because of forces the infant has no control of, that cause the infant to change and mature. Why do I say that? Because in the womb, the infant is fed, not from food that the infant produces itself, but by nutrients from its mother. In the womb, the infant's body grows. But not because of anything the infant does, but because of the natural processes of human life development. It is the life force within the infant, that same life source that gave life to the infant, that causes the infant to grow and mature in the mother's womb. Not the infant. When it is time for the birth of the infant, it is not the infant that initiates the birth, but it is the mother's physical body that causes the birth. The infant cannot start life on its own. The infant must first be forced to take its first breath of oxygen that was not given to the infant by its mother. At birth, the child's senses and physical body are in an infant state. This means that the child is aware but has no memory or social and communication skills. It is from this point on that everything the child experiences will influence, cause change, and ultimately determine its mental and physical behaviors. At birth, the child only possesses his parents' DNA and the desire to eat and sleep, which is to survive. Everything else will be given the child through the child's everyday life interactions with others within the child's environment. It is through these interactions that influence and cause development and maturity of the child's mental and physical behaviors. Now, this is my statement of argument. How is a human being, in today's male-dominated society, brought to maturity? We now should understand that when a human infant is born, it possesses nothing in and of itself, except the inherited DNA of its ancestors, and an internal desire of survival, given it by its life source. We also know now that everything the child experiences during its interactions with life, from the ages of 3 to 13, will influence the child's mental and physical behavior, and the child is not able to control these influences on its own. The child's environment will influence its maturing process. The child's family and friends will influence its maturing process. But we now also know that at the age of 13, the child will have developed into a young adult, and should then be mentally mature enough to determine right from wrong, using the knowledge and experiences over its lifetime, that was supervised and mentored by the young adult's mother. Now at the age of 13, the young adult human should have developed into a mature human being with the mental and physical maturity to navigate life on its own. But remember, the maturing process started at the age of 3, when the child's brain starts to develop the ability to process memories. This is the actual start, or the beginning, of the maturing process. You should understand that between the ages of 3 and 13, the child's natural instincts will influence the child to seek knowledge and experiences. It is during this period that the child's internal DNA influences the child to follow instructions that it receives from its mother, with childlike obedience. It is during this period that the child's mother will cause the child to understand basic concepts, such as morality, social behavior, honesty, integrity, patience, sacrifice, problem-solving, fairness, kindness, family values, respect of elders, and many other important human characteristics. It is also during this period that habits are easily formed, and the concepts of reason and deduction are realized. It is very important you understand this. From the ages of 3 to 13, the human child, because of traits passed down to it by the child's ancestors, will obediently follow instructions from all humans presenting themselves to the child as a parental being. Their maturing minds are influenced by their internal DNA, and it will influence them to accept all information from these individuals as truth, as they would their mothers, during this stage. This is because the child has not yet developed the ability to distinguish truth from untruth. This ability has not yet been realized by the child, from the knowledge and teachings it has received from its mother. Once the human child matures to its young adult stage, the child should possess the abilities to determine truth from untruth, right from wrong, make rational decisions, and to problem solve. But know this. The human can only use the knowledge and experiences, no matter if they are of a truthful or non-truthful nature, that it has received over its lifetime, from other sources, to make decisions and to problem solve, in its daily interactions with life. Now, let's examine the definition of free will. Free will. Free will is the awareness that your actions can affect other living beings, and to realize the effects your actions may have on other life forms, and then determining within yourself that only you, the individual, is responsible for those actions. But what if your actions that you think are your actions are not actually your actions? What if your true actions are actually created from within the human being, using truth as their creator source? What if your actions are actually influenced and controlled by your knowledge of truth, and of right and wrong? What if the knowledge that influences human beings of today is actually not based on truth like the knowledge given us by our mothers, but knowledge based on the knowledge of men, consisting of untruths, lies and man-made philosophies that have come from his imagination? What if the wisdom that humans can actually accumulate over their lifetime today will not actually cause you to become wise? Let me explain. Because everything we know and possess has been given to us by external sources, except our internal DNA, and the desire to survive, then all the knowledge and wisdom that humans believe is their own, is actually knowledge that was given to them through external sources, and not from an internal source within itself. The knowledge we possess has been given to us by external sources, through our life experiences. This is the knowledge that has been programmed into our brains. This knowledge was not influenced by the human internal being that is based on truth, but by external sources that are based on non-truth, power, wealth, and control. So, this is my argument. If during the ages of 3 to 13 the child receives contradictory or false information, the child cannot function properly as an adult. This non-truth-based information will hinder its ability to make logical decisions. It will obstruct its ability to problem solve. This information, that is not based on truth and reality, will prevent the human from properly identifying right from wrong, and will not be able to distinguish fact from fiction. This means that the child is ultimately not responsible for its actions, because the actions did not originate from the child, and thus the adult does not execute its own free will. It is because of this the mind becomes confused, and the human will then imitate the actions of the influencers of its life experiences. Let me explain the source of free will. If the human being's source of knowledge and wisdom is from a source that is based on truth, then the human being can use truth as its creator source, and thus can command actions from its internal being, self, to create. But if the human being's source of knowledge and wisdom is based on non-truth, the human being cannot create original actions or reactions from within its own self, because its knowledge contradicts knowledge based on truth. And the human being has no other choice other than to imitate the actions of its influencers and teachers of the non-truth instead. Understand this. A human being is not created with preloaded instructions and commands for functioning in life. The human must first receive commands of function from an external source before it can function. Understand this. Before the existence of kings and queens that became our rulers and masters, before there were governments and politicians that create laws and bills for human rights, before there were great generals that commanded powerful mighty military forces that bring war, death, and oppression to their enemies, before great men of knowledge and wisdom discovered how the human mind works and then created principles and philosophies for humans to follow, before the creation of religion and commandments from men, priests, and gods, before the creation of teachers, schools, and institutions of higher learning. Before the creation of science, technology, and the manufacturing and sales of man-made creations. Before the creation of property, wealth, and man-made poverty. Before the creation of art, literature, and high society. Even before the creation of the spoken word, from which man's imagination is derived from. From the beginning of human existence, all human beings were given commands of function and instructions for life. From their mothers,